This mature larch tree is showing several symptoms that would make an inspector suspicious of potential infection of Phytophthora ramorum. What we're seeing is branches with defoliation. We're also seeing a branch with gingering foliage, suggesting that the branch has been girdled quite recently. And if you look closely on the main stem, a few foot above the main branch that is girdled or is gingering, you can make out a resin bleed coming out down on the main stem, suggesting that there's activity under the bark and the tree is indeed infected. When a tree is being felled, the first thing that people will be looking for is symptoms that aren't under the bark. So, for example, we'll be looking for resin bleeds and potential signs of sporulating foliage, and other things such as the girdled branches showing the gingering foliage. On this tree, we can see the tree has been under attack on multiple points by the disease. It hasn't come in from any single place. We start with a fine branch. Up here you can see there's been a girdled branch, foliage has died off, and on the branch we can see a resin bleed here. This is a typical symptom of infection with Phytophthora ramorum, is resin bleed. So there's a point of attack here. Moving on to a slightly larger branch here, you can see again further girdling, no foliage on this at all, and signs of resin bleed here on the branch. And the more you investigate, the more bleeds become apparent, until you go and look on larger branches and then eventually the main stem, and you'll go and see larger and more profuse branches depending on the level of infection. When you investigate under the bark of a suspect infected larch tree, you'll see different symptoms that we would expect to associate with this infection. So here we scrape back underneath the resinous bleed, and firstly there's a mottling going on where there's resin is being produced, and behind that the bark has gone brown, the phloem has gone brown and necrotic, showing that there's been death and dieback of the material there. And also, in association with more established infection, you'll find red reaction zones, quite distinct for Phytophthora ramorum. If you go and see a combination of these alongside the symptoms you observed on the outside of the tree, and alongside the evidence you can gather from a lateral flow device confirming the presence of a Phytophthora under the bark, then the evidence is overwhelming. Here you can see on this branch progression from pale healthy tissue under the bark to brown areas of dead necrotic tissue, and also the resinous red crimson reaction zone often seen in association with infection of Phytophthora ramorum in the larch. And looking further down, you've got the typical resin bleeds you see on the main stem. Knowing that this branch was alive above here suggests the infection that is coming up here has moved from this totally dead branch next door, and there you can see under the bark the material is all brown and necrotic, showing the branch has been totally girdled by the disease.